What drew you to the position, getting, I don't want to say back into it, but, into this role? What is it about this role that intrigued you?
Yeah, when I got the first call from the search firm that was working on this to see if I had some interest, I was sort of surprised to get the call, and at the same time really intrigued by it. And I felt like it was a long shot when you're talking about a job, as big as this one, with the type of people that would come forward to be interested. But I started doing the work, just really what would this job be? And that's what they asked me to do. I think they felt good about what my background was and the experiences I had, but I'd been away from college sports for a little bit, even though I'd worked on it a lot in the beginning part of my career. So that was sort of the combination of all those things. And then when I started doing the preparation, I was really loved it, actually. I spent time talking to people that were, in and around college athletics, people that I trusted, that I was close to back in the day, and looking at the challenges and the opportunity, and then just being associated with something as important as the Big Ten.
Sure.
It was really hard not to give it my full effort. And that's what I did. I sort of treated it like, let me just go all in and see what happens. If I end up being the right person, that'll be great. If not, it was worth all the preparation.
What's interesting is I think that everybody loves different aspects of intercollegiate athletics, and for me it's obviously specific to college football. Mm-hmm. There's so many things I love about college football, and even some of the challenges, I think are amazing opportunities that we're going to face, and we'll get into that over the course of our conversation. But I'm interested, during your work, you're prepping, you're talking with people. Was there anything specifically that just drew you? You're like, man, I picture myself loving this about specifically college football.
Yeah, I think it was a combination of things. First, it's just having been in MLB and being part of an organization, we're dealing with multiple teams, multiple owners. I felt there was a lot of analogies to what the Big Ten does for its member institutions. Sure. So I felt good about the everyday and just being involved in college athletics and what it means for student athletes. But then the other part of it, to be really, when I started thinking about it, it's such an important crossroads, and the challenges are so big. And when you're at an organization that's really important, that means a lot to a lot of people, that's at a point in time where you can have a meaningful impact to try to create change and lasting tradition and build on everything great before, that's pretty exciting. It's hard to not get excited about that type of an opportunity. And it was sort of that moment when I realized, hey, it's not just running the league every day. These are sort of really big issues that are going to shape the future, and we got to preserve what's great about college athletics for student athletes. I just felt like I really wanted to be a part of that, and I was hoping in some way, hopefully, over time I'll be able to contribute in a meaningful way as whatever the next future is.
I mean, personally, I think that your position, maybe one other, maybe two other in the entire sport, are real legacy positions. Mm-hmm. Not just for you personally, but I'm talking about the entire sport. Mm-hmm. Because of the crossroads of some of the issues that we'll talk about, the opportunity to shape those. Mm-hmm. Is there one that you're really eager to help shape?
Yeah, I think it's just the idea that the balance of academics and athletics and what's been so valuable for so many. I'm sure for your experience, for mine at a much lower level than you played at, but it meant a lot to me.
Sure. And
it opened a lot of doors. Even though it was Division III baseball, it still was probably among the most meaningful things I've ever done in my life in terms of setting me up. So I really feel the value in that. So I think it's that model and just trying to preserve what's been really important for everybody. It does not mean that things aren't changing for student athletes, that benefits don't change over time. Of course they do. But I do think at its core, what's at the core of it is so important and so valuable that we have to remember that and try to do things to protect that.
I'm always interested in when you talk with someone that's going into a big position, and obviously the president always has the first 100 days, this is what I'm going to do in office, and you're in a lot of ways in a position like that for this conference, and in some ways like that for the sport. Are there things, and let's start with, I don't want to ask you too big of a question, specifically internal for the conference, that you really want to focus on and nail in the first 100 days? Yeah,
that's a great question. I think the first thing is just the staffing and how the conference office interacts with the member institutions, making sure that we're running on all cylinders, that we're best in class, that the conference office is doing what the members need, that we have that relationship of trust, and the athletic directors, SWAs, faculty reps, and of course the presidents and chancellors that I work for, that we're all on the same page and working hard, and there's total confidence in what we're doing at the conference level. And so getting that right early on was really important, and looking at the functions and where we need to be stronger, what the challenges are, and making sure we have the best athletes in every position, like you would on any team.
Sure.
And so I think that's the way I looked at it. First is that internal, setting it up, because the more that we have great depth there and strength, the more it'll free me up and senior staff to deal with some of the bigger issues, right? So you got to do the basics. And look, we have USC and UCLA coming in. That's a new challenge for staff, and we got to make sure that we're ready to do that in the best way.
Well, I mean, that's just one of the, I'm not going to list them all, but you've got 2 new schools coming on. Oh, by the way, they're thousands of miles away in Los Angeles, in a different market, USC and UCLA. You've got a brand new schedule format about to drop. You're onboarding what can only be considered the biggest media rights partnership in the history of intercollegiate athletics. Not just from a monetary standpoint, but also from a logistics standpoint. You're going to have 3 networks. No one's ever had that before. These are all the issues that you're going to be knee-deep in internally. How has your history as a television executive, MLB Network, CBS, ABC, going to help you through those issues?
Yeah, I think, in terms of leading organizations and trying to react, I think everything that you pointed out, while it's a challenge, it's also an incredible opportunity, right? So the positive is the other side. You think about, hey, these are challenges. It's going to take a lot of work and a lot of creative and new thinking. But at the same time, the opportunity is just through the roof in terms of what we can accomplish if we do these things well, and I'm confident that we will. I think I really point to the MLB experience, because I think a lot of what I learned there in terms of at MLB, 30 owners, 30 team presidents, 30 GMs, 30 baseball ops, 30 ticketing staffs, and you're working collectively in the central office to make sure all of those things are best for everybody, and the balance between teams that look very different that have to compete with each other every day. So it's
different markets, revenue.
Same thing here. So when you look at that, I think that's part of that. So when I look at all those challenges together, I see tremendous opportunity. My own experience, I think, really on the MLB level, when I was fortunate to do not only media, but do the other pieces of the job that I had that I touched upon many departments away from media, that was probably the most valuable experience for me in trying to expanding out and give me hopefully the right set of skills to do this. But and I think that was part of the process. Look, to be clear, I think part of what I had to convince people was that I'm not just a media person. I did a lot of other things at MLB, and so. But when you look at
I can do logistics.
I can do other things. But they see that, and that comes through the resume. And I'm proud of that. Don't get me wrong. I loved every second of the business that you were in, that we were in together. I love it. But at the same time, that baseball experience working with Commissioner Manfred in the departments that he let me oversee just really created a new portfolio for me.